welcome back to Read, Rant, and Review. It is time for another book review. Finally, right? I apologize again for it being nighttime. Yes, I apologize for the nighttime, as though I caused it to be nighttime. I have powers you don't know. So today we're going to be talking about a popular-ish book that I've been meaning to check out for the longest time because I kept hearing positive things and negative things about it, and so I was interested. So that's what happens. Now, masks are a major theme in this book, and I thought about wearing a mask to start out, but then I remembered that when I do that, I get a headache from not wearing my glasses, so no mask for me tonight. I'm sorry. I actually wrote down my thoughts while I was reading this one. You can even check them out on Goodreads because I posted them there, so if you want a less coherent, possibly more humorous version of this review, check out my Goodreads. Links in the doobly-doo. We are talking about The Young Elites. Oh, goody, let's go. Alright, let's read the synopsis on Goodreads, and boy, is it a doozy of a one. It's always a good sign, right, when a book has a really long synopsis? That's not a good sign. Adelina Amuteru is the survivor of the blood fever. A decade ago, a deadly illness swept through her nation. Most of the infected perished, while many children who survived were left with strange markings. Adelina's black hair turned silver, her lashes went pale, and now she only has a jagged scar where her left eye once was. Her cruel father believes she is a malfetto, an abomination, ruining her family's good name and standing in the way of their fortune. But some of the fever survivors are rumored to possess more than just scars. They are believed to have mysterious and powerful gifts, and though their identities remain secret, they have come to be called the Young Elites. Terran Santoro works for the king. As a leader of the Inquisition Axis, it is his job to seek out the Young Elites, to destroy them before they destroy the nation. He believes the Young Elites to be dangerous and vengeful, but it is Terran who may possess the darkest secret of all. Oh my gosh, it's still going! Enzo Valiciano? Sure, is a member of the Dagger Society. This secret sect of Young Elites seeks out others like them before the Inquisition Axis can. But when the Daggers find Adelina, they discover someone with powers like they've never seen. Adelina wants to believe that Enzo is on her side and that Terran is the true enemy, but the lives of these three will collide in unexpected ways as each fights a very different and personal battle. But of one thing they are all certain: Adelina has abilities that shouldn't belong in this world, a vengeful blackness in her heart, and the desire to destroy all who dare to cross her. Holy cow, that is a long-ass synopsis. Whoa. A synopsis is supposed to make you excited to read the book, not tell you the entire book. This one really, I mean, it was accurate, but boy did it really covered everything. Wouldn't want to miss out, I guess. Okay, so I heard a lot of good reviews and bad reviews about this book. I suspected that I would find it to be not very good. Spoilers, I was right. But we'll see what we thought. I gotta admit that I had trouble looking away from this book. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. It was oddly fascinating, and I actually got a great deal of enjoyment from this book simply from the so bad it's good factor. No, really, I honestly feel this book is so bad it's good. I laughed many times at the ineptitude on display here. So let's talk about our main character, Adelina. She is super abused, you guys. Super duper abused. Super duper extra special bonkers abused. Her daddy is mean. He is mean, and he is mean to her because he is trying to get her to manifest her powers, I guess. Somehow, he has figured out that to make her manifest her powers, he has to get her mad or emotional in some way, which is true. I have no idea how he figured that out, though. And so he's just, like, extra special abusive to her, so that we feel super, super sorry for Adelina at the beginning, except for I didn't, because the level of abusiveness of this father character was, like, dialed up to 11, and I couldn't take it seriously. So Adelina decides to escape, and she rides off on a stallion, and of course she rides a stallion Of course she does. And her dad chases her down, but then she finally manifests her powers, which are these illusion powers, and that causes her dad's horse to spook and kill him, for which Adelina blames herself, kind of, and the rest of the world blames her, even though there would be fucking hoof prints on this man. Like, nobody else knows that she has these powers, so why would everybody instantly jump to her having killed him when there would be markings on his body suggestive of being kicked by a horse? But I guess it's because Adelina is one of the specials, and the specials, as always, are also super duper abused. Adelina's life is so hard, you guys. As is so often the case, this book, and others like it, do not adequately explain why the people with cool powers are feared and shunned. Especially, it's kind of like people initially felt sorry for the malfetos, the people who survived being sick, but then for some reason people turned on them, the fickle nature of society. But let's be honest, like, if people started manifesting cool powers around anywhere, we would be like, oh, that's awesome, you're an X-Man. So then Addie is almost executed and gets rescued by the Young Elites, which is a name that doesn't really fit with the world. It's kind of based on Italy, and it could almost be a historical alternate universe fiction kind of thing, except for they also have like these weird flying manta rays for some reason, to make it a magical world so the author can do whatever the fuck she wants. Probably. But anyway, the Young Elites save our pathetic heroine, and they want to make her one of them, but they have to figure out her powers, and so they take her down to this room, and they all start attacking her, and she just, like, she never once asks, oh, hey, why are you attacking me, or could you stop attacking me? We see a lot of what she's thinking in this book, and it doesn't strike me that she would just let them whoop on her without maybe just raising the question as to why. Especially since we keep getting told over and over again that Adelina is an angry person. I can't remember, maybe she knows that they're going to attack her, but reading that scene, I remember thinking that she wasn't prepared for this, and she would be like, stop. Stop. Now, please. And then, after all this, she randomly, like, as she flails in self-defense pathetically, she scratches one girl on the face, and the girl's like, yeah, we got a badass over here! And I'm like, that's your criteria? That she randomly flailed and managed to hit you? I would think the only thing you would be congratulating her on is the sharpness of her fingernails. Then the hot guy attacks her, and Addie uses her powers, calling her Addie now, and everyone's like, oh! She's so awesome! Even though they've got people who can control the wind and fire, and Addie just makes some illusions and everyone loses their shit. So let's talk a little bit about the other characters. We're going to take a break from sort of following the story along and talk about the other characters. Raffaele was my favorite for a while, mostly because he was the only one who got any kind of character besides Addie, our poor abused heroine. Raffaele is like a male prostitute who is really cool and nice to her. And so I liked him simply because he was nice to her and, you know, a little bit unusual. But other than that, really, there's nothing to these characters at all. The love interest is completely bland. It seems apparent to me that he falls in love with Adelina because Adelina looks like his old girlfriend, which is disturbing, but it would be cool. It would be even cooler if he had any personality to speak of, but he doesn't. He is just bland and hot. And my favorite character by the end of the book was actually the villain, Taran. I just bonded with Taran, and everything he did I was, like, cheering for him, because he's far more interesting to me than our main character or any of her random other characters in the Young Elites, who I could not tell apart. The only one I could otherwise tell apart was, like, this other really douchey one who was a bully to Adelina for a while, but, like, otherwise I can't tell them apart at all, and so Taran became my favorite character because I kind of made up, like, a headcanon backstory for him, and so he was a lot more engaging. I mean, not that he was deep. I made him deep in my own headcanon. He was pretty straightforward in the story. So the names of the young elites are pretty stupid. They give all of each other nicknames, and she gets called, like, Little Wolf or something later on for reasons. But one of them is called Star Thief, and she's the one that can control the minds of animals. So why is her name Star Thief? Could you call her Soul Thief? No, Star Thief. That makes perfect sense. Other people have sensible names, like the one that can control the wind has like a wind-related name that I can't remember right now. And then they have to win a horse race to get close to the king so they can kill him. Because that's the thing that they're trying to do. They're trying to assassinate the king. And they win the horse race by cheating. Not only do they have the girl who can talk to animals riding on the horse, but the one who can control the wind uses the wind to slow down all the other horses and speed up the one that's ridden by Star Thief. And then they get in trouble after the race is over and they're not allowed to win after all. And we're meant to believe that it's because of like racism against them because they are malfetos. But in fact, they cheated and they don't deserve to win. So I had a really hard time feeling sorry for our heroes and the ruination of their plot because I was like, you really cheated a lot. Like, at least just have the one who can speak to horses win that way, not also use the wind one. You are confused why people don't like you. It is because you are assholes. The people in this world are right about the young elites. They should fear them because they are people with powers who are simultaneously giant dicks. So Addie has this power which is fueled by her anger or other people's anger or her fear and other people's fear, and of course she spends a lot of time afraid. We're supposed to think that she's a really angry person, but she only really gets out of control a couple of times. And when she does, it borders on the edge, it skirts the edge of interesting, because it seems like she feeds off of the pain of others. She almost gets off on it, and their fear. And I was like, yeah, I can get behind that. She likes to inflict pain. But then after she inflicts the pain, she forgets about it. So we don't have, like, her personality is completely separate from this cool power that she has, so she can be simultaneously a whoopee and a badass, and I don't like it. It's cheap and it's cheating. We're supposed to feel so sorry for this girl, and I just do not. The power that she has is constantly being described as darkness, and that's all it's described as. She has the darkness inside of her. She let the darkness go. The darkness did this, the darkness did that. We'll get on to talking about word choices in a little bit. But, yeah, why is it just like the one thing that is in her? Darkness. That's the only description we're ever going to get of her anger. Isn't anger usually described as maybe fiery or something? Red is anger, but I guess we already have a fire guy, so we can't do that. So you know how I said I liked Terran? Well, I enjoy him mostly because of the headcanon I made up for him, but his powers are really inconsistent. He just has new ones whenever he needs them. Like, at first it's evident that he is a super healer. He heals, he's like Wolverine. He heals whatever happens to him very, very quickly, which is fine. But then later we also find out that he has the power to block other people's powers as well, for some reason. He gets in a fight with love interest Enzo, and fire happens, and apparently Terran's clothes are also affected by his powers because they don't burn either. And I loved the image that I was forming in my head of him being burned, like his skin being burned and then it healing back right away. But I don't think that's actually what's happening, which is kind of sad. Again, I wrote down that I wished that the author would have let Addie revel in the pain that she inflicts, because she does, and then she forgets. Romance happens in this book. It's really boring. The less said about it, the better. There's no chemistry between these two characters who are barely characters. So then we find out that Addie's sister also has powers, and she has the power to suppress other people's powers. There's a lot of anti-power powers going on. And it turns out that the reason that Addie never manifested her powers when her dad was being super duper extra bonkers abusive to her was because her sister was blocking them. But then the book tells us that it takes way more energy for the little sister to use her powers than it does for Addie to use hers, which is stupid because the little sister used to be blocking Addie's powers like 24/7, and we never really saw any side of it. So why suddenly is it super tiring she can't even use this ability for like an hour? The powers in this book are really convenient as when they work, when they don't work, how they work, what they need to do at any given time. So we finally get to the final fight against Terran, and the author of this book does not know how to write an engaging fight scene. I zoned out so many times. It was not interesting at all, and I don't even know exactly what happened except for the end result. But it was a boring-ass fight scene. What I really wanted to see is, because the sister is up there in the stands using her powers to block Terran's super healing and blocking abilities, and so what I really wanted to see was, because we have a little backstory about Terran that he's a good fighter, I wanted to see him lose his powers and still be a really good fighter and still be, like, winning because he's such a good fighter. But instead what happens is that the sister gets a wee bit tired and Terran has his abilities back and just kicks ass. Oh no, Terran killed Enzo. How will I ever recover from this terrible blow? And so during the fight, Addie gets involved and she accidentally fucks up her boyfriend instead of Terran. She thinks she's fighting Terran, but instead she's actually hurting Enzo with her fear powers. She can create the illusion of pain. I don't know how that works. Wouldn't that just be actual pain? But sure, whatever. She can create the illusion of pain. And so she feeds off of her boyfriend's fear, and she helps Terran defeat him, and then afterwards she goes back to deal with the rest of the young elites, and they're all really pissed at her. And I can't decide how I feel about that scene, because on the one hand, it's really nice for the main character to have to deal with some consequences of anything, like, say, fucking up, and then having to deal with everybody being upset with her for fucking up, because she did. However, I don't like the "we never trusted you all along" thing that they have going on with the young elites, because it would have been way cooler if they had trusted her and then she broke their trust versus the "we were right about you, you are horrible, grrr." But it is super important to the author that Adelina be sympathetic, or in her case, just pathetic. Adelina gets kicked at every possible opportunity to the point where I don't buy it anymore. You can have an angry, bitter character without them having the world's saddest backstory. She doesn't have to turn back to these friends whom she inadvertently betrayed and have them go, "we never trusted you all along," so she can be extra angsty. So she can put the blame on them. See, here's Adelina's thing. Everything happens to her. Nothing happens because of her. Everything that happens to her is supposed to make us, the audience, feel even more sorry for her and understand why she's so angry. But I was angry at her because nothing she ever did was her fault. Nothing she ever did had consequences because it was her fault. It was always just an unfortunate happenstance because Adelina has the worst life ever. You know what I wanted to happen? Because, okay, the Dagger Society is like a bunch of badasses, and they are definitely not in favor of law and order. They're kind of our anti-heroes, which is anti-heroes. I'm using a lot of air quotes in this. There's a lot of need for air quotes right now, but the Daggers are kind of our anti-hero society. So what I wanted to see was her to get back to them, and them to be like, whoa, she is really powerful. Did you see what she did? Yeah, she is really powerful. Why don't we declare her the new leader? Because she is a scary motherfucker and we want her on our side. And then Adelina could have had to deal with the fact that, yeah, she's the leader now, but she also killed her boyfriend to get there. And it would have left these other people much more morally questionably gray or dark gray. I would have liked it a lot better. So yeah, I wasn't very impressed with the young elites. It did remind me somewhat of books that I read when I was much younger, fantasy books that I read. It had the same feel, in that the characters were not well fleshed out, the story was just kind of going along, hitting the beats, but nothing terribly surprising or even overly original happened. It's a sort of story that I might have even enjoyed when I was 13 or 14 before I read, better books. But now I have. And now I review them on the internet. And I let my bitterness show for the world. You see, I too am fueled by anger and fear, and I revel in it. There's no convenient amnesia for me. One of the things that I hear people saying, though, about this book is, yeah, it was kind of bad, but at least the writing was good. That is incorrect. The writing in this book was very poor, especially the descriptions. Everything was described the same way every single time. Every single fucking character was wearing silk. Silk, 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 silk. I was so tired of the word silk, I was ready to murder. Also, books like this have ruined the word murmur for me, because characters never whisper, they never mumble, they never speak in low tones, they murmur everything. And now I can't even use the word murmur. It's like my least favorite word. There you go. That is my least favorite word, is murmur now. Thanks to books like this, who think it is the only word you can possibly use for speaking in a low, quiet voice to someone else. Obviously, there was Addie's power being described as darkness and nothing else every single time. And Taryn's eyes had a tendency to pulse. Taryn's eyes pulsed. Have your eyes ever pulsed? What on earth would that look like? So those are my thoughts on The Young Elites, the tales of an angry emo who just lets stuff happen to her and fuel her anger, kind of. There is even a chance that I will read other books in this series simply because, as I said, it did have me laughing quite a bit at the sheer ineptitude of this book and the so bad it's good quality. I might have to check out more. If you're interested in me checking out more, comment below, let me know. If you like this book and you're still here, hi. I'm not sorry for any of it, but feel free to comment, defend it. Maybe you'll make a point that I hadn't thought of. That'd be cool. And if you too find this book very, very unworthy of any praise whatsoever, also comment below. Okay, so now that I have gotten back to my roots and fully eviscerated a terrible book, I think it's time for a book tag, and I found a really fun one, so I'll see you next week for that. Bye!